The empire crumbles. Robyn's downfall begins. It was to be her fairy tale happily ever after. Robyn Brown, the beloved fourth wife in the sister wives' household, was the favored one of Kody Brown. But in a dramatic turn of events, no one could have predicted, the same woman who had been protected, shielded, and put first is now abandoned, vulnerable, and legally ousted by no other hands than those of the two women she herself had replaced, Meri and Janelle. The courtroom was charged. Robyn was silent, barely recognizable for once, without the smug arrogance she had once sported on television. Cameras were not permitted inside, but sources leaked dynamite that would turn the sister wives' world on its head. Robyn was not merely battling to retain her home. She was battling to maintain her position in a family that had wholly turned on her. What became of the woman whose every step Kody used to have control over? Let's get into the entire episode that viewers are hailing as the most jaw-dropping moment in Sister Wives history. 2. The legal battle. When loyalty turns to lawsuit, it began with real estate. When Kody and his wives purchased property on Coyote Pass, it was meant to be a reflection of their togetherness. However, things didn't quite work out. Kody's bias towards Robyn resulted in one decision after another favoring her, leaving Meri and Janelle in the cold. While they were struggling, Robyn received the largest house, the most notice, and the ultimate veto over most decisions. But behind closed doors, Meri and Janelle weren't hurt. They were angry. With Kody now estranged from both of them, and Robyn running the show, they decided to take matters into their own hands. Janelle, ever the diplomat, had done her research. She uncovered discrepancies in the property documents. Astonishingly, Robyn had transferred some of the land title to a private trust, without the other wives' knowledge or approval. And that's when Meri and Janelle took the drastic step. They sued Robyn. It wasn't a straightforward court fight. It was a battle for justice, for self-respect, and for all they had given up over the years. Robyn arrived in court ill-prepared for what lay ahead. A solidarity between Meri and Janelle. And Kody, he wasn't in sight. 3. Evicted and exposed. The courtroom verdict. The judge didn't hesitate. Following an examination of the files and taking hearsay testimony from both sides, the ruling was harsh. Robyn had breached agreements on joint ownership, lied about her financial transactions, and tampered with property rights to oust the other wives. The court decreed that she be evicted forthwith from the Coyote Pass compound and deprived of any right to joint property. You could have heard a pin drop in court. Sources indicate Robyn cried during the reading of the verdict. Her attorneys attempted to try for an appeal, but the judge indicated firmly the case was finished. But the agony did not end there. With the verdict came public shame. Records were turned over to the press, revealing how Robyn supposedly used family finances for personal expenditures, such as high-end furniture, vacations, and even settling debts Kody had kept secret. To the world, Robyn was the bad guy, no longer the victim. 4. Meri and Janelle's redemption arc. As Robyn's world came crashing down around her, Meri and Janelle were stronger than ever. After a lifetime of emotional manipulation, neglect, and being cast aside, these two women found power not only in the courtroom, but in each other. Die-hard Sister Wives fans saw a side of Meri they have hardly ever seen before. Calm, confident, and completely done with the past. Janelle, known for her quiet wisdom, spoke publicly for the first time saying, "We adored him. We gave it our all." But you can't establish a family on favoritism and deception. Meri and Janelle took it on together. New business, a podcast and book project of empowerment revealing the truth about plural marriage and what actually happened behind the cameras of TLC. And yes, it's already a #1 hit. A once broken family dynamic is now a new sense of strength for two women who have finally discovered their voice. 5. Kody's silence and Robyn's last stand. And what of Kody? Amazingly, Kody Brown has been utterly silent throughout the entire legal debacle. Friends claim he's living apart from the rest, attempting to keep his head below the media circus, and refusing to speak out. Most take his silence as a sign of guilt. A man who supported the wrong spouse and saw it all crumble. Robyn, however, is desperate. With no legal claim to the land, cut off from family support, And facing public backlash, she's reportedly trying to shop around an exclusive interview deal to clear her name. But with her credibility shattered, no major network wants to touch her. The final scene in the latest episode says it all. Robyn outside the home she used to know, as the moving trucks drive away, after taking everything she ever had with her. Final thoughts. This isn't another sister-wives scandal. This is a total role reversal of power. A shocking courtroom defeat, and public reckoning years in the making. Meri and Janelle reclaimed their lives. Robyn lost the war. And Kody, he might have lost it all. Stay tuned, because if this installment is any indication, the next one will be dynamite. It was meant to be her happily ever after. Robyn Brown came into the world of sister wives like a soft breeze. But what began as a serene addition to the family grew into a tempest that would rip it all asunder. She was younger, more emotional, more expressive. She spoke with a soft voice, smiled frequently, and easily won the complete focus of Kody Brown, the man who had vowed to be a partner to four, not one. But now, years down the line, the fantasy is busted. Robyn, who was the focus of Kody's life, is now alone, with the fruits of her silent planning surrounding her. And in a twist that no one saw coming, not even the most ardent sister wives critics, she is in a courtroom, fighting against the women she once referred to as sisters. Her downfall wasn't quick. It was gradual, calculated, and breathtakingly lyrical. And for audience members who've watched this tale unfold since the very start, this showdown in the courtroom isn't merely a battle of law, it's karma, on TV. But to really comprehend the impact of what just occurred, you need to go back. The entry that changed everything, when Robyn entered the picture for the first time during season 1 of Sister Wives, she carried a different vibe. Meri, Janelle, and Christine had endured the highs and lows of decades-long spiritual marriages to Kody, but Robyn was fresh, new, and honestly beloved. Her entrance was greeted as the start of a new era, a modern interpretation of polygamy that TLC was more than eager to air. Robyn was instantaneously the favored daughter, and before long that favoritism began to make itself painfully evident to the rest of the family and to viewers. The audience observed as Kody put Robyn's views first, followed her lead, and spent an inordinate amount of time at her place. The other wives soon complained as early as season 3, but their concerns were frequently overridden by Kody's rationalizations and Robyn's sparingly expressed innocence. But behind the tears and sweet spirit facade, something more sinister was going on. Robyn wasn't merely a new wife, she was a troublemaker. And although her motives may have appeared innocent to some, her conduct told a different story. The slow sidelining of Meri and Janelle. Meri and Janelle, let's discuss them. Meri was Kody's first wife, lawfully married to him for more than 20 years before surrendering that designation, so that Kody might lawfully marry Robyn. It was framed at the time as a legal action to benefit Robyn's children from her previous marriage in terms of healthcare and insurance benefits. Meri indicated she was fine with it. Was she though? Years down the line, in a tell-all episode, Meri confessed that divorce and Robyn's legal marriage to Kody brought deep emotional pain. It was not just a signing on paper, it was the formal beginning of the emotional disentanglement of their spiritual union. And then there's Janelle, always the practical one. She had a job, she knew about money, and she'd often serve as the voice of reason when situations got crazy. But even she wasn't unaffected by the ripple effects of Robyn's increasing power. By the time the family purchased Coyote Pass land, Janelle was living in an RV, fighting for simple comforts, while Robyn lived comfortably in a lavish house financed by family funds. To the outside world it appeared as neglect. To the public, it cried favoritism. But to Meri and Janelle, it was personal betrayal. The favorite wife era. It's no secret, Robyn was Kody's favorite. He even hinted at it, on multiple occasions on the air. But what viewers didn't notice was how that favoritism started shaping key family decisions, not just emotionally but legally and financially. From the manner in which the assets were distributed, to who got a say in planning the family, to how the children were funded, Robyn's voice grew disproportionately loud. Sometimes it seemed as though the other wives weren't even asked. Robyn wasn't merely a part of the family, she had commandeered the family. And Kody? He didn't stop it from happening. Worse, he facilitated it. As his marriages to Meri and Janelle began to break apart, he drew nearer to Robyn. She was at the center of everything. The other wives were left to wonder about their roles, their worth, and their destiny. Behind closed doors, bitterness fermented. Janelle began questioning fiscal choices. Meri began to emotionally withdraw. Christine had already departed, and Robyn appeared immune. Until now. The quiet rise of resistance as Robyn savored her position as Kody's closest companion. Meri and Janelle were observing, making mental observations, gathering facts, and quietly beginning to wake up to the fact that if they didn't do something about it, they'd lose everything. What set off the legal battle was a piece of paper, a single line in a real estate document that had caught Janelle's attention. It implied that some of Coyote Pass had been quietly transferred into an unreported private trust controlled by Robyn alone. That wasn't only questionable. It was a violation of the family's oral and financial contracts. Meri and Janelle stood up to Kody. He dismissed them. They accused Robyn. She pretended not to know. But the facts didn't deceive. Documents revealed that Robyn actually transferred ownership, and with it control. And that's when things changed. Meri and Janelle, once worn down and quiet, had had enough. This wasn't merely about land. It was decades of emotional labor, betrayal, and loss. And Robyn had finally crossed a line that couldn't be silenced. From silent wives to legal warriors. The choice to sue Robyn was not simple. The sister wives had been holding themselves out as a family, imperfect but devoted, for years. A lawsuit would open that facade wide, but the reality had already seeped through the cracks. Fans had noticed the fissures, critics had penned exposés, and Meri and Janelle knew that if they didn't act, there would be nothing to struggle for. The court filings were submitted stealthily, but gained ground rapidly. Legal sources briefed entertainment blogs. Suddenly Sister Wives wasn't merely a reality television show, it was a courtroom drama unfolding in real time, and the focal point, Robyn Brown. The stunning court appearance. When Robyn walked into that courtroom, gone was the confident woman we'd seen on television. Instead, she looked shaken, anxious, and out of control. This wasn't a TLC interview. There were no edits, no production assistants, no safe scripts, just cold facts, and cold justice. Meri and Janelle didn't play games. Their lawyers introduced financial records, title deeds to land, emails and messages that told the tragic story of Robyn's manipulation and one-way decision-making. Kody didn't appear. Robyn was on her own. And as the judge deliberated the evidence, it was clear the tide had at last turned. A moment of reckoning. What is so tragic about this fall is not the legal defeat. It's what it symbolizes. Robyn had taken decades establishing herself as the emotional wronged wife. She sobbed through virtually every interview. She insisted that she desired peace and justice. But when things were unraveled, what was left was control, secrecy, and self-preservation. Her empire was not established on love. It was established on favoritism. And as all empires founded on weak foundations, it fell. This was the time audience had been waiting for. Not because they wished harm to Robyn, but because they wished for justice. They wished to witness Meri and Janelle getting up, and most importantly, they wished for the truth to finally be revealed. This was merely the starting point, because once the decision was made, once Robyn's hold on the land legally was broken, the true ramifications began to take effect, publicly, brutally, and without compassion. And then comes what? It's even more incendiary. The courtroom door creaked softly open, but as soon as it did, the mood changed. This wasn't a mere court proceeding. It was long-awaited judgment. Years of secret resentment, broken vows, and silent betrayal had culminated into this. And seated across from one another in the room were the women who used to refer to each other as sisters. Robyn Brown against Meri and Janelle. What began as a television drama had escalated into an actual courtroom confrontation, where legal jargon set the pace for confessionals, and where paper trails spoke louder than family allegiances. It was not so much about property, it was about justice. And for Meri and Janelle, it was an opportunity to reclaim the dignity, resources, and voice they had incrementally lost at the hands of Robyn's increasing domination. But how did it all get this way? How did this once united plural family, founded on common beliefs and mutual sacrifice, get ripped asunder before a judge? Let's unravel the betrayal that set it all in motion, and the harsh legal repercussions that followed. A dream divided. The Coyote Pass controversy. The Coyote Pass land was where the Brown family hoped to start anew. Having relocated from Las Vegas to Flagstaff, Arizona, the plan was straightforward: purchase land, construct houses, and coexist alongside one another. The land would serve as a symbol of what they could become together, an investment toward a brighter future. Symbols are worthless, however, when greed and bias get involved. As time passed, things took an odd turn. While Janelle was camping out in a tiny RV on the property with no running water or simple amenities, Robyn occupied a large multi-bedroom house purchased for almost $1 million. Worse, family finances were inexplicably skewed in Robyn's direction. Bills were paid, indulgences were enjoyed, and somehow the other wives had no input on any of it. That disparity raised eyebrows, particularly Janelle's, who'd always been the most even keel about money. She began poring over public records, property documents, and family financial statements. What she uncovered sent shockwaves through the family: a land deed in Robyn's name alone, shielded by a private trust. It had been done quietly, without family discussion, without approval, without so much as a warning. It was a betrayal of the most fundamental sort. That land was to be shared by all the wives. It was an absolute understanding, a spiritual vow. But now, it seemed, Robyn had quietly gained dominion over part of it for herself, and in doing so had excluded Meri and Janelle entirely. The breaking point: for years, Meri and Janelle had lived with emotional abandonment, neglect, and manipulation. But this was theft, period. They faced off against Kody. His reaction? Defensive, evasive, blame-shifting. He blamed them for misunderstanding, for being emotional, for not being able to look at the big picture. But the facts were plain. And Robyn? She pretended innocence, professed confusion, and attempted to gloss over the situation. But Meri and Janelle weren't fooled. This time around, the line had been crossed. The years of being silenced, ignored, and put on the back burner had reached a boiling point. It was time to ask no questions, only demand answers. That's when they made the decision: they were going to court. Preparing the case, sisters become plaintiffs, legal professionals were called upon. Banking documents were collected, emails, text messages, and property deeds were collated, each one a segment of a much larger jigsaw puzzle that disclosed Robyn's financial acrobatics. What began as suspicion gradually turned into a robust legal case. In their legal submission, Meri and Janelle claimed illegal transfer of family-held land to a private trust, violation of oral and financial assurances made in the Coyote Pass acquisition, misappropriation of shared family funds for private use, including mortgage payments, luxury expenses, and travel, and intentional exclusion from key property decisions made between Robyn and Kody. For the first time in over a decade, the family wasn't just fractured, it was at war. And what about TLC? They remained mum, but off-camera insiders said that production was in a panic, attempting to determine how to cope with the repercussions of what was no longer merely good television. This was a legal mess. Robyn's defense: I didn't know. When the case went public, Robyn's representative scrambled to get out in front of the story. In public releases, she asserted she didn't realize the legal paperwork. She trusted Kody's guidance in every property issue, and that any financial decisions were made with the family's best interests at heart. But the papers painted a different picture. Documents revealed Robyn had authorized important land transfers off the record with no input from Meri or Janelle, and had even acquired lines of credit secured by her share of the land, steps requiring unanimous family approval under their initial oral agreement. Legally speaking, it was false. Emotionally, it was crushing. And it wasn't just Meri and Janelle who were enraged. Fans around the world went ballistic. Social media lit up in favor of the two women who had spent years behind the scenes, finally coming forward to get their just due. The courtroom showdown. When the day arrived, Robyn turned up at court surrounded by her lawyers, dodging cameras and reporters. She was haggard, edgy, and out of place in an arena where charm and manipulation carried no sway. This was not the TLC production. There were no confessional interviews here, only hard facts and the rule of law. Meri and Janelle followed, dignified, intense. No longer the devastated women that had appeared in so many episodes, but tough, resolute, and solid. Inside, their lawyers put it all out on the table. The initial deals cut when Robyn bought Coyote Pass, proof of Robyn's sole ownership of some of the land,
affidavits from family-affiliated financial advisors, and timelines confirming that not only was Robyn being secretive, but deliberate. The judge, reportedly not swayed by Robyn's evasive responses and tearful diversion, pushed relentlessly on timeline and secrecy. Robyn had no response. The verdict that shook the family in the end of lengthy arguments, witness testimonies and document examination, the court issued its ruling in Meri and Janelle's favor. The verdict was unequivocal. Robyn had breached principles of shared ownership. She had employed judicial tactics to push other wives out of their rightful stakes, and she would be removed from ownership over the contested Coyote Pass land forthwith. Also included was a complete financial audit of every property-related transaction within the family trust, including the way family funds were spent over the last 5 years. Robyn wasn't evicted, she was outed. The judgment came without prison time, but with something nearly worse in her universe: public shaming, complete loss of control, and the shattering of the very framework she and Kody had constructed.
And as for Kody, he was nowhere to be seen. Kody's silence, a deafening betrayal. During the trial, Kody Brown never made an appearance at court. He didn't represent Robyn. He didn't support Meri or Janelle. He didn't make a statement at all. His silence wasn't just cowardice. It was a betrayal in all directions. For Meri and Janelle, it was confirmation of what they had suspected all along. Kody had emotionally and financially checked out of their relationships years ago. For Robyn, it was abandonment. She'd always felt like she was the one Kody would never leave, that she was the one he'd always keep safe. But now, when it counted most, he vanished. According to insiders, Robyn was blindsided by his silence. Behind closed doors, she reportedly wept after the ruling, informing her legal team that she felt set up and thrown to the wolves. No one was buying it anymore, from sister wives to legal rivals. What makes this lawsuit so tragic is how far the relationships have deteriorated. At one point, these women referred to one another as sister wives. They celebrated holidays, co-raised children, constructed a life. But favoritism, deception, and complicity shattered those foundations. And in the end, they didn't lose a common home. They lost a common identity. This courtroom was not merely a venue where ownership of land was established. It was the last resting place of a family that had been a public representative of faith and harmony. But Meri and Janelle, they emerged from that courtroom with their heads held high. And Robyn, she emerged with nothing. No land, no power, no family harmony, and no public sympathy. The court rules in favor of the plaintiffs. In those 8 words, the whole sister wives world was turned on its head. The gavel came down with a louder crash than anything Robyn Brown had ever heard. The woman who once had the Brown family's future in her pocket had lost it all, legally, in the public eye, and symbolically. Within the courtroom, the tension might have cut through steel. It was what Meri and Janelle had struggled for, not in a spirit of revenge, but because they needed to take back something that had been taken away from them: their voice, their rights, and their dignity. Robyn sat numb. Her face, which had been shielded by Kody's favoritism and emotional walls built up over years, was pale. The verdict had not just taken her out of the property at Coyote Pass. It had taken away the illusion of power she had built up over so many years. And the whole world watched. The courtroom reaction, shock and silence. When the verdict was handed down by the judge, no one shouted. No one wept. It was as if everyone had held their breath in the courtroom, everyone staring wide-eyed with shock. Even the court reporters were stunned. Not because the verdict was incorrect, but because it was so definitive. Robyn's lawyers attempted to regroup, quickly huddled, muttering to each other, but it was obvious: no 11th hour agreement, no technicality, no miracle rescue. The papers didn't lie. Robyn had breached the core premise of shared ownership. She had put land in a private trust without Meri and Janelle knowing. And most crucially, she had used family money, without their knowledge, to pay for it all. The judge ordered immediate termination of Robyn's control over the property, including the luxury home she and Kody shared. She had 30 days to vacate. You could hear a pin drop, and in that silence, something else became deafening. The realization that Robyn was truly on her own. A legal defeat, or a personal collapse. This was never about land. The Coyote Pass property was never ever merely soil and deeds. It represented something greater for the Brown family. It was to be their legacy, their commitment to their children, their next chapter as a spiritual family.
even as their relationships changed. But when Robyn secretly rearranged ownership and transformed that property into her own fortress, she broke that promise. And now the court had broken its promise to her. Janelle, the calm player that she was, remained stoic in her reaction. She did not gloat. She did not weep. She merely nodded, stood, and departed the courtroom with dignity. Meri trailed behind her, not with victory, but relief. For the first time in years, she seemed free. Free from a poisonous framework that had cost her spiritually, emotionally, and financially. But Robyn, she sat for a long time after the judge had left, gazing blankly in front of her as if willing herself to wake up from this nightmare. Photographers outside snapped the moment she stepped out of the courthouse, pale face, bloodshot eyes, walking silently. Public records unsealed. Secrets revealed along with the court judgment, various documents were unsealed and put into the public record. That was when the actual exposure started. Media and fans delved into the specifics, and what they uncovered was astounding, even to the biggest fans. Robyn had spent more than $130,000 of jointly held family money to decorate and equip her private residence. She had paid down payments and mortgage payments without co-signers or wife approval. And worst of all, emails and messages uncovered a clear design to pull financial control away from Meri and Janelle, under the excuse of keeping things simple. The pushback was swift. Sister Wives forums, Reddit comment sections, Facebook groups, and YouTube comments blew up. The former victim-turned-villain was suddenly seen by many as the puppet master who orchestrated the family's destruction. She was no longer simply the fourth wife. She was the one who transformed a plural marriage into an exercise in Machiavellianism. Eviction order. Robyn must leave. The judge's directive was unequivocal. Robyn had to leave the Coyote Pass home in 30 days. No exceptions. No mercy. The house, now legally part of a communal estate, was to be reassessed, split, or sold under court supervision among the other family members. Robyn excluded. It was a crushing blow. Insiders describe Robyn as blindsided and emotionally wrecked. She allegedly pleaded her lawyers to lodge an appeal, but the legal grounds she had were too flimsy, according to court sources. The verdict was absolute. Her claim over the property was invalidated. That opulent house, which had been a refuge she felt safe from, was no longer hers. She would have to leave, pack up, and look on from the outside as the family she once ruled over took back what was theirs. And maybe, the hardest reality. Kody Brown remained quiet. He didn't appear in court to stand with her. He didn't issue a public statement. He wasn't present in the house assisting with the packing. Sources close to the family said that Kody had gone completely off the grid, avoiding the media firestorm and disconnecting from the fallout. To Robyn, that silence cut deeper than the eviction notice. The court of public opinion, Robyn's fall from grace. It wasn't only the court loss that broke Robyn's world, it was the fall of her public reputation. Where once she had been the tearful, wronged wife, who just wanted peace, Robyn was now revealed to be a woman who methodically manipulated the family dynamics to her advantage. And the audience knew it. YouTube channels, TikToks, and fan blogs started breaking down old episodes. Clips that were once innocuous now had a sinister edge. Phrases Robyn used to talk about money, property ownership, and family choices were reinterpreted in the light of the court ruling. #Justice for Janelle and #Meri deserved better hashtags started trending. Robyn's supporters, they were now quiet or in the minority. TLC, caught in the crossfire, declined to comment, but fans wondered how they would handle this in future episodes. Would they finally address the legal drama? Would they take it to court with Meri and Janelle, or continue their long tradition of sanitizing Robyn's image? Only time will tell. Life after the verdict. What happens next? With Robyn officially cut off from the family property, her future is uncertain. Sources close to the affair report, she's staying temporarily with relatives outside Flagstaff. Financially, it's reportedly lean. Without Kody's support, and no longer with access to joint funds, she's now rebuilding from ground zero. Some report that she's negotiating an exclusive interview arrangement to present her side of the story. But interest is cool. Robyn has lost credibility, and most media outlets are hesitant to give her voice. While that's happening, Janelle and Meri are finding their own way. Individually,
They've started a podcast all about female empowerment, emotional healing, and overcoming toxic dynamics, whether it's in relationships or religion. Their journey has connected with thousands of women who felt ensnared in controlling relationships. What was once Sister Wives' most painful break is now its most transformative shift. And what of Kody? There are rumors that he lives in virtual seclusion now, not willing to speak out publicly, not even to producers. Others believe he's regretting all of it, his favoritism, his silence, his decisions. But now, it may be too late for him to make amends. Closing thoughts. The demise of Robyn Brown. This courtroom judgment was not only a verdict, it was a moment of reckoning. A public unwrapping of years of dishonesty, favoritism, and pretended unity. Robyn Brown, who was once the emotional center of the Brown family, now stands as its cautionary tale. Her eviction wasn't physical alone, it was emotional, spiritual, and symbolic. And though she might attempt to rebuild, the taint of this judgment will stay with her for years to come. And in the meantime, Meri and Janelle enter the next chapter with hard-earned clarity, strength, and the understanding that even after years of silence, it's never too late to take back your power. They say the best revenge is living well, and for Meri and Janelle Brown, that could not be truer. For years they were pushed to the edges, ignored, emotionally forsaken, and financially blindsided. These two women, who were once overshadowed by Robyn's ascension and Kody's preferential treatment, are now the heart and soul of the Sister Wives brand. This isn't simply a tale of justice, this is a tale of resurrection. And here in this chapter, the so-called silent wives won't remain silent anymore. The moment everything changed. Following the dramatic courtroom decision that evicted Robyn from Coyote Pass property and revealed decades of covert manipulation, the public was left asking, what now? Would Meri and Janelle just take their win and slink off quietly? Not on your life. What the world saw instead was nothing less than a personal transformation, not legally or financially, but spiritually, emotionally, and even physically. It started with a humble moment in front of the courthouse. Cameras rolled as Meri and Janelle came out of the courtroom, not smiling, not celebrating, but walking together, side by side, heads high, as women who had finally shaken off the shackles of their collective trauma. After that, they asserted their own control. Meri Brown, from betrayed to bold pain, went deep for Meri. She was Kody's first wife, the one who helped build this family from scratch. And yet, with the passing years, she saw her relationship decay into something chilly, impersonal, and finally humiliating. Kody had made no secret of the fact that he was no longer romantic about her. At times, his withdrawal from Meri seemed cruel, publicly disavowing her, while continuing to reap the rewards of a shared brand and financial union. But that Meri, she's gone. Over the next few months after the verdict, Meri fully awakened. The subdued interviews and sobbing admissions of guilt were now replaced by a woman who at last realized her value and would not let it be diminished again. She overhauled her small business, Lizzie's Heritage Inn, making it greater than a bed and breakfast. It was a symbol of strength, a haven for women who were going through heartbreak, a place of peace to get healed and rise. She published a memoir called Wife Number 1, My Truth from Inside Polygamy, that immediately hit bestseller lists. In it, she chronicled her early years in plural marriage, the years of self-denial, and the moment she realized she had to leave for good. The book caught on. It opened up conversations across the country, and all of a sudden, Meri wasn't only a former wife, she was a voice for the voiceless. Janelle Brown, the quiet strategist, becomes the star. If Meri's transformation was emotional and spiritual, Janelle's was strategic and fierce. Always the quiet thinker, Janelle had spent years quietly observing the fractures in the family. While Kody was busy chasing Robyn's approval, Janelle was planning her escape, her future, her freedom. She didn't lash out publicly. She didn't play the victim. Instead, she waited. She collected papers. She followed mismanagement of funds. And when the time was right, she employed that data to bring the hammer down in court. But what happened next? That's what really astonished fans. Janelle entered a limelight she never sought, but one she carried well. She created a YouTube channel and podcast, Strength and Sisterhood, where Meri and she talked about the actual dynamics of polygamy, the aspects TLC never depicted. With unvarnished truth, they explained what it is like to lose your identity within a system that seeks to silence women. And people tuned in. The podcast went through the roof in popularity. Women all over the country, some former fundies, some from abusive relationships, burst into the comment streams, thanking Janelle and Meri for making their pain legit and their strength empowering. Janelle also embraced her interest in health and wellness, resurfacing her Strive with Janelle coaching business. But this time not merely as a fitness coach, as a life coach to women who were ready to reclaim their power. Taking back Coyote Pass. But on their terms, though the court decision granted Meri and Janelle official control over Coyote Pass, they made it very clear that they didn't want revenge. Instead, they viewed the land as a metaphor for new beginnings. Jointly, they made a public declaration of a collaborative project, reclaiming Coyote Pass as a wellness and retreat center for women healing from religious trauma, emotional abuse, or significant life changes. Consider nature, healing empowerment workshops, spiritual growth, all infused with the hard-won insights these women now held in their bones. They started conducting monthly retreats, booked up within hours, where they spoke about their experiences face-to-face. Attendees called them transformative, life-changing, and the most healing weekend of their lives. The space that had once shamed the Brown family apart was being rebuilt as a sanctuary. And Robyn, she was no longer invited on the land. Fans and public support. A new sisterhood emerges. If you thought Meri and Janelle were going it alone, you'd be mistaken. What started out as a reality TV fan base has now turned into an international support system. Women and even men all over the world started sharing their own stories online, with hashtags such as #Meri and Janelle Rise #Sisterhood, Not Silence #From Wives to Warriors. Their platforms lit up with activity. Fans of former sister wives reunited with the show, not due to the drama, but due to the redemption. These weren't women fleeing polygamy. These were women telling everyone it's never too late to alter your narrative, even if you spent years playing a role that never suited you. Even some of the fans began referring to them as the real sister wives, a testament to the fact that in spite of it all, Meri and Janelle had genuine sisterhood. Their sisterhood had been put to the test, but it never failed, confronting Kody's silence and moving on without him. And what of Kody Brown? During this strong comeback, Kody himself was noticeably silent. No words, no apologies, no recognition of his part in the suffering these women bore. Meri and Janelle did not pursue him. They did not seek closure. Because at this point they had something better than that: clarity. They saw the man behind the charm. The man who utilized faith and control to keep a framework in place that served only himself. And now, they didn't need his endorsement to prosper. They had something Kody could never provide them: with freedom. The media reframes the narrative. It wasn't long before mainstream media picked up on the story. Interviews, morning programs, even documentaries began floating around Meri and Janelle. What was once tabloid material regarding wives fighting over Kody's attention had become strong headlines such as Meri and Janelle Brown take back their lives after decades of control. Sister Wives No More. The unapologetic story of the breakup. How two women escaped polygamy and built an empire. Their tale became larger than reality television. It became a movement. They were reportedly on the cusp of a book deal, a docu-series, and an Oprah's Super Soul Sunday appearance. And it all started with a decision to stop surviving and start thriving. The final message: strength and sisterhood. Meri and Janelle's story isn't merely one of polygamy. It's one of any woman who's ever felt invisible, any woman who's been instructed to wait, to be quiet, to give more than she gets. It's one of discovering your voice, even if it trembles, of taking a step away, even if your feet ache, of choosing yourself, even when it doesn't feel selfless. They've shown that loyalty to others never needs to come at the expense of loyalty to yourself. They didn't simply emerge from the Brown family meltdown. They came back from its flames with purpose, with grace, and with fire. Meri and Janelle aren't reality television stars anymore. They're leaders, role models, and most importantly, free. In reality television, few tales capture the masses the way Sister Wives has.
It began as an odd but interesting glimpse into a polygamous family working toward oneness in contemporary society. But what it evolved into was a revolution. The courtroom decision, the shocking betrayal announcements, and the rise of Meri and Janelle as phoenixes from the ashes of heartbreak, all culminated in one impending question: where does TLC go from here? The dust had settled in court, but the war behind the scenes was just beginning. What ensued after the verdict wasn't merely a change for the family, it was a change for the DNA of the show, the brand, and the way millions of viewers saw the idea of family itself. And while the ratings climbed and the network panicked, producers were presented with a choice that would determine the destiny of one of TV's most legendary franchises: a network in crisis or opportunity. When the judge brought down the gavel, awarding Meri and Janelle a majority stake in the Coyote Pass property and effectively eliminating the fiscal stranglehold Kody and Robyn had long exercised on the family, TLC executives were amazed. This wasn't scripted. This wasn't the inevitable rotation of polygamous drama and forgiveness and obligatory smiles. This was life. Uncensored, unreversible. And worse, Kody was not cooperating with filming. Off-camera, sources indicated that Kody was erratic, furious, and uncooperative. He was crying betrayal, accusing producers of aligning with the women, and threatening to walk off the entire show. Robyn, his sole remaining wife, did the same, refusing to give interviews, backing out of planned confessionals, and reportedly insisting on editing control over any scenes involving footage of her children. For TLC, it was a nightmare and a ratings bonanza. Meri and Janelle, from cast members to creators, Meri and Janelle, meanwhile, weren't waiting around for TLC to get with the program. Fresh from their court victory, they noticed the writing on the wall. Sister Wives, as it was known to fans, was on life support. But in its stead, something even more incredible was conceivable. Rather than holding onto a ship that was sinking, they pitched something different. A spin-off series, one that would trace their path after Kody, not as ex-wives but as entrepreneurs, healers, and fierce voices making their own way. Tentatively titled Sisters Reclaimed, the idea was immediately appealing, rebuilding Coyote Pass as a retreat center, hosting women's events and workshops, healing the emotional scars of polygamy. Exclusive interviews with therapists, spiritual leaders, and even former cult survivors. A behind-the-scenes tour of their blossoming friendship. TLC had never approved something this daring before, but the initial reaction from the focus groups was irrefutable. Fans were through with Kody. They were through with the manipulation. They craved truth. They craved healing. They craved Janelle and Meri. Kody's last stand. But Kody wasn't going down without a fight. In what many who work with the production described as a desperate move, Kody purportedly reached out to TLC executives directly, proposing to produce his own docuseries, one where he could set the record straight and tell his side of the story. The pitch, a raw, behind-the-scenes documentary called The Price of Patriarchy. His attempt to reframe himself as the misunderstood father and leader who was wronged by the media and his wives. But the executives weren't biting. TLC had spent over a decade building Sister Wives as a brand of family, vulnerability, and truth. Kody's proposal came off as bitter, defensive, and completely detached from what viewers were now demanding: accountability and evolution. Worse, in-house polls indicated Kody's popularity with viewers had sunk to less than 15%. Fans were convinced he was gaslighting, controlling, and insensitive to the emotional needs of his family. In contrast, Meri and Janelle's popularity had skyrocketed, with more than 80% of respondents indicating they'd watch a spin-off centered around just the two women. The message was clear: Robyn alone in isolation. Meanwhile, Kody struggled. Robyn's world was exploding in private. Gone was the slick, poised image of the subservient wife. What came through in leaked video and social media videos was a woman struggling desperately to hold on to control of her image, her family, and narrative. She was caught on camera sobbing in her driveway, following the verdict, shouting at paparazzi to leave her family alone. Anonymous reports from a former TLC editor claimed Robyn had become nearly impossible to work with, stalling production and insisting on retakes that portrayed her in a more favorable light. Robyn's online boutique discreetly closed up shop. her social media fell silent, and public opinion hardened. Most of the fans started perceiving her not only as Kody's favorite, but as an active contributor to the exclusion of the other wives. Either by choice or circumstance, perception became reality. Robyn Brown, who had been the icon of modern polygamy, was now its cautionary tale. The reboot decision, TLC breaks the silence. After months of behind-the-scenes meetings, discussions, and contract revisions, TLC finally came to a decision. In a shock press release to the entertainment community, the network declared, "After 18 seasons, Sister Wives as we know it will end. But the adventure of these incredible women is only just beginning. We are excited to welcome Sisters Reclaimed, a new era in the Brown family saga, premiering this fall." The backlash was instant and incendiary. Kody went public on social media, labeling the network liars and opportunists. Robyn posted a mysterious Instagram story that simply said, "You'll all see." One day, Kody Brown, who had broken early, publicly congratulated Janelle and Meri, saying, "You two have earned this. I'm so proud." Enthusiasts overran the TLC forums and Reddit with victory posts, hailing the new show as a much-needed rebrand and a long-overdue victory for the women. The premiere that changed everything when Sisters Reclaimed debuted, it shattered viewing records for TLC. Gone were the cringe-worthy family dinners, the coerced counseling sessions, and the never-ending loops of Kody's gaslighting. Instead, viewers got to see unbridled, unfiltered dialogue between Meri and Janelle, healing tears and outrage. Videos of them harvesting the land, transforming trauma into beauty. Interviews with emotional abuse experts and spiritual awakening professionals. Reunions with Kody, who came aboard for a stunning mid-season storyline. A viral moment when Meri finally torched the original family picture from season 1 and left smiling. Social media went wild. Hashtags such as #SistersReclaimed, #Healing After Kody, and #From Polygamy to Power trended for days. It wasn't just that people watched the show, they felt it. Kody and Robyn's vanishing act. In the subsequent months of success from the new series, Kody and Robyn disappeared from the limelight. Unverified rumors indicated that they had relocated from Flagstaff. Some claim they moved to rural Utah, while others say they attempted to sell their story to another network, but nobody was interested. Their most recent public showing was at a local function where fans allegedly booed Kody when he attempted to speak to the crowd. Whatever influence Kody used to have, both among his family and the general public, was lost. The legacy of Sister Wives, and thus the Brown family saga, ended its most dramatic chapter to date. What began as a series about religion, family, and togetherness ended as a deep exploration of identity, feminism, and emotional renewal. Kody Brown might have begun as the franchise's face, but it was Meri and Janelle who ended it in dignity and fortitude. Their journey reminds us all that you can lose everything and still emerge stronger. You can be silenced for decades and still have your say. You can be erased from someone's narrative and still author your own. Sister Wives is done. But the sisters, they've only just started.